Hey guys, what's up? My name is Shyam, and in this video, I'm going to talk about the JavaScript closures. I chose this topic because of two specific reasons. One, we definitely have to understand this concept because mostly we are using this technique but don't know it's a closure. And hence sometimes it becomes very difficult to debug the code because of lack of understanding on how it works. And the second reason is this is very typical interview question, and most of the time people give answers like function inside a function is closure, or a function returning a function makes a closure. However, it is partial true but not exact definition of closure. Alright, so let's see what is closures, what makes a closure. So closure is a combination of a function and its surrounding state. That surrounding state we also call as a lexical environment. And we have to understand that when a function in JavaScript executes, it creates an execution context. And that execution context means when a function executes, let's say that function has two variables, variable A and variable B, we can use those two variables within that particular function. And those two variables are not accessible once that function has returned, once the function has finished, right? And to use a closure, we have to define a function inside another function, and we have to expose it. We have to return that inner function outside. Okay, but this inner function, if it still carries some information, then we have a closure over there. All right, so let's understand this closure using examples. Okay, so here I have created a outer function, and that contains a variable bar outer with the value, and have inner function that contains some variable, and we are consoling it. Okay, but this particular situation, having outer function and inner function inside it, does not qualify for a closure, because if we try to access this outer function, we cannot access anything else, right? If we try to do like this, that's it. Okay, now here we don't, after this execution has done, we don't have access for this bar, we don't have access for anything else. So this situation does not qualify for a closure. Okay, let's say I am doing something like this. Now I have a function and I'm returning an inner function, but does this qualify for a closure? Let's check it out. So once we are doing something like this, okay, and here let's say I'm doing console.log. Okay, so what it will do, it will return an inner function. And let's say if I wanted to execute that inner function as well, outer, and then again one more, so it will just give me, so it will give me a value inner, right? So I'm able to access this inner value, but if I but I'm not using any outer variable over here, means there is no access of this lexical environment, right? I'm just using this particular value, that's it, the story ends. Okay, and I'm just printing over here. So this function is returned and it is having foo, and that's it. It has no information about the outer variable. So in this situation as well, we cannot say this is a closure because this inner function is not carrying any other information from the lexical environment. Okay, so this also does not qualify for a closure. Okay, but let's say if I am accessing this particular variable as well, let's say I'm typing is outer, okay, and I'm saying okay bar, right? Let's just remove this one. Now in this situation, what we can see is this particular function has access to the bar variable, which is outer functions variable. So in a way, if we have executed this outer function, it should have returned it, everything should be destroyed. But here it is evident that we are getting this function, and this function still has access to the bar variable. So because this function carries some of the information from the lexical environment, then this qualifies for a closure. Okay, and we can also reconfirm by doing this. So if we do outer, it will return a function, right? And we can go to the details of that function and see what does it contain. Okay, so this contain a closure. So this contain a closure over this outer function, and what that contain is bar. if we would not be having this one, and I'm just using, let's say, foo, and if we check again here in the scope, there is no closure. So that does not qualify for the closure, but as soon as we started using some of the information from the outer environment or the lexical environment, we started getting the closures over here. Okay, so this is how it does. And here we have this global scope as well. So it means that this particular function can access this closure, means this particular variable, and that function can also access the global environment. That's definitely available for all the functions. Okay, all right guys, let's take another example with the block scope. Okay, so I have created one block over here. That block contains variable a and test, and here if we try to access this particular variable, console.log a, we cannot access it because, okay, we get a reference error because this is a block level scope variable. We cannot access it outside, right? Even if we try to access this particular function test, we cannot do it because that is also the same story, right? So how can we do that? So there is a one way we can do is, like, let's say we can make it, we can just remove the declaration part over here and we declare it outside. Okay, and then if we do over here, we can get the value 10, right? Now what is happening is when this particular block is executed, we have this test, we are assigning this particular function over here, so we have reference outside, and from outside if I'm trying to access or execute this particular function, we can actually go and take and pick the details from the context, from the execution context. Now because here also, if we see, if we try to console.dir and see over here what this test contains. So guys, here we have to make sure that when a function is created, then only the closure get created. Okay, all the scopes binding happens during function creation time. It is not about function execution time. So as soon as function is created, the binding happens. So that's why we don't have to execute a function to get the details of that particular function. We have to just create and take the reference of that function. As soon as that happens, we will get all the details. So here if we look for the test, we can see under scope there is a block kind of closure also created. So that's why, because this particular function has now three scopes: block, script, and global. Block because it is accessing some information from the block, and what information is it is accessing is a equals to 10, and it has script also accessible because outside, which is not part of global object, window object, then it would be part of this script object. So here test is outside, that's why this is also accessible to that function if we have going through the recursive kind of function, right? And we also have this access for this window object. So we can see, like, it's not just about closure with the help of function. We also have a closure kind of situation when we are using block. Okay, all right guys, I guess this definition of closure is now making more sense, where a closure is a function plus its surrounding state, a lexical environment, and not just a function inside a function or function returning a function. It should have something from its environment. All right guys, thank you so much for watching this video. See you next time. Bye.